Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to all of you. Greeting from Plexus on the World Heart Day. Created by the World Heart Federation, World Heart Day informs people around the globe that CVD, including heart disease and stroke, is the world's leading cause of death, claiming 18.6 million lives each year, and highlights the actions that individuals can take to prevent and control CVD. So, this year's theme for World Heart Day is harnessing the power of digital health to improve awareness, prevention, and management of CVD globally, where telehealth has a huge role to play as we continue to use heart to beat CVD. Now, for today's session, we shall be talking around this year's theme. So, our speaker shall be taking us through the distant frontiers of internet and communication technologies, AI, machine learning, and personalized medicine. Telemedicine and advances in ultra fast information and communication technologies presents an opportunity to health professionals to share their resources, expertise for healthcare over vast distances. It has also opened a gateway for distribution of global knowledge explosion through teleeducation, mentoring, and even performing skill procedures for training of students and surgeons across the globe. To share his expertise for the same, we have a very special guest on board. Please welcome Dr. Nirmal Gupta.
Namaskar.
Hello, sir. Dr. Nirmal Gupta is the head of Department of Cardiovascular and Thoracic Surgery based in Lucknow. He has topped and secured gold medals at various levels of medical education from graduation to post-graduation levels. He was presented with the UP State Highest Scientific Award, Vigyan Gaurav, in 2015 by the Ministry of Health Education, Department of Science and Technology in Uttar Pradesh. Dr. Gupta was the first ever Asian cardiac surgeon in the UK chosen to be the Marian Anaskew Fellow following a global competition. Dr. Gupta is also the co-inventor and joint patent holder with IIT Kanpur of a tri-leaflet heart valve and chief investigator of biological valve under PM Modi's Make in India program. He has also performed over 12,000 open heart surgeries with special interest in surgical treatment of irregular heartbeats, repair and replacement of rheumatic heart valves, biatrial heart size reduction, surgery of complex birth defects of heart. Dr. Gupta has also served as the Honorary Secretary of the Telemedicine Society of India in 2015-17. With over 100 international publications, presentations, and over 50 international publications in high-index peer-reviewed journals, he has also authored 2 books on cardiac surgery and currently working on a few more to come. Dr. Gupta, at the last, is also an avid research worker and telemedicine enthusiast in the field of mHealth, content development, and e-learning solutions using social media. And last but not the least, he was the first heart surgeon in the world to use Facebook for super specialty training and teaching under CSII as a proof of concept model. It's a pleasure to share the same screen with you, Dr. Gupta. We are thrilled to have you on board. Thank you for agreeing to share your experience with us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Darshika. I didn't know that I had such a best CV. You have made my CV far more better than I could have made. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So I think you have introduced my subject very well. So I will not need any introduction to the subject. Shall we straight away go to the presentation?
Sure, sir. You can share your screen, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all in the post-pandemic, which was the 21st century's first pandemic that we have recently faced, and still some part of the world are still reeling through it, coming out of it, thanks to the vaccination program and a lot of awareness that has been created around the world. I have no financial device manufacturer, pharmaceutical, or other sponsorship disclosures to say. As Darshika has already mentioned, that I work at the Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences in Lucknow, which is the capital of Uttar Pradesh in India. Today, we shall be discussing about the power of digital health to improve education, awareness, prevention, and management of cardiovascular diseases globally. I will also touch upon my own journey over the last 15 years in the field of telemedicine. And before I begin, I must convey my somber greetings on the World Heart Day. Why I said somber is because heart disease is like an atomic bomb, and cardiovascular in itself are multi atomic bombs that has been exploding around the world in the humanity, killing so many precious lives. I will touch upon a brief history of the World Heart Day. Many of you may not know, some of you may know. It was first conceived by the president of the World Heart Federation. His name was Anthony Baez de Luna. He was from Madrid. He was the president of the World Heart Federation. On that day, when he retired in 99, September 24th was the last Sunday of 2000, and that was the day chosen. However, over a period of time, in 2011, it was decided that the World Heart Day should be celebrated on the 29th of September because the dates used to keep on changing according to the Julian calendar. As Darshika mentioned, that cardiovascular disease today is the world number one killer and is likely to kill more than 18.6 million people worldwide in this year. It contributes to the 33%, 1 in 3 deaths of all causes in the world. More than 75% of the CVD deaths occur in middle and low income countries, unfortunately. I will touch upon this matter again during the course of our presentation. Of the all global causes of death, the number 2 and number 3 diseases are cancer and respiratory diseases. Now, if you look at that, cancer kills over 10 million people and respiratory diseases over 3.7 million people. I personally believe that respiratory disease should be included in the cardiovascular and thoracic diseases combined. And if you see that, then it will make at least half number of deaths globally occurring in the world, as the respiratory illnesses continue to grow due to the pollution. It is ironical that death due to cardiovascular diseases reached its peak during the First and the Second World War period in Europe as well as in America. And surprisingly, in mid-60s, they have controlled the epidemic of cardiovascular diseases and hypertension, and the number of deaths are steadily coming down in the developed world. However, in low and middle income countries, it continues to increase and shatter the economy and the harmony, happiness in many families who lose their young ones as well as parents. It is also very ironical that the first international declaration on the cardiovascular disease and hypertension was proposed by India in the 9th World Health Assembly, because at that time WHO did not exist in 1956. However, India is the capital today of cardiovascular diseases, hypertension, and its sister disease, diabetes and obesity. Recently, the entire world population suffered with corona pandemic. Till 6:30 this morning, there were 4.7 lakh people who have died due to the impact of COVID. I know many of my friends and my colleagues who have lost their lives. I know many of the families who have lost their family members as well as parents due to the COVID. But one thing this COVID pandemic has done, after affecting more than 500 million people around the world, that people who are living with comorbidities, especially the obesity, diabetes, lung diseases, have been particularly affected. And once contracted, many of them are died, or those who have survived, many of them are suffering with the long COVID effects. Now, during the COVID pandemic, many of the hospitals did not attend to their scheduled or emergency surgery procedures, medical procedures. And therefore, all those people who were to attend the medical hospitals and facilities were isolated and could not come out even from home. And that has also caused a lot of suffering and neurological and problems. To summarize, the risk factors of cardiovascular diseases are the 10 top: high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, unhealthy diet, overweight, air pollution, kidney disease, tobacco, physical inactivity, and harmful use of alcohol. But the number one thing that corona pandemic has brought to us was the awareness towards the importance of health. Because of the 10 causes that I have showed you, many of the patients died because of that. And the second thing that COVID pandemic has done, that it has outreached its potential to each and every individual on this planet. The power of information and communication technology is now a common word in the jargon of a common person walking on the streets in India as well as in the world. And therefore, the World Heart Day very aptly made the theme of this year's World Heart Day as connecting the and harnessing the power of digital health to improve the awareness, prevention, management of cardiovascular diseases, because we now have understood that this is going to play a major role in combating the curse of many diseases on this planet. I am thankful to the Doc Plexus and my friend Dr. Harinder Singh Bedi from Ludhiana, basically, but he is now based in Chandigarh, who has introduced me to this platform, and because of which I am now presenting my lecture to you. India is currently facing a severe crisis of shortage in medical doctors' numbers. As far as National Health Workforce Account and the Periodic Labor Force Survey of the National Sample Survey of Office data is concerned, India is in the grip of the healthcare crisis. It needs 15 to 20 million new job healthcare workers. Amongst them are the doctors, nurses, and allied health professionals by 2025. According to the World Health Organization's threshold for doctor, nurses, and midwives, it is 44.5 per 10,000. And in the backdrop of this, India's active healthcare worker density is one doctor per 10,000. That is more than 44 times less than the world's recommended average. Similarly, against the 44% per 10,000, we have only 6 nurses. This inequitable distribution of skilled health worker has resulted in inequity in providing quality healthcare to all. Now, amongst these 6 lakhs doctors that we have today in India, there are only 2,000 doctors who are active cardiac surgeons. And the reason for it is the healthcare poverty because of the urban rural divide, because most of the doctors do not prefer to go into the rural areas. And also, this has been added by the flight of good surgeons, good doctors to greener pastures abroad, because the service conditions in India are not so good. Recently, one of the cabinet minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, has proclaimed that today country needs minimum 600 medical college, 50 aims like institutions, and 200 super specialty hospitals. To add to this, the Chief Minister of UP has also given the directive to his own government that all the 75 UP district hospitals must be converted to the medical colleges, and so that all 75 districts in UP should have a medical college. Day before yesterday, on Monday, our Honorable Prime Minister has announced the National Digital Health Mission for the country. It is the amalgamation of National Rural Health Mission, which was conceived and started in 2005. In 2013, the National Urban Health Mission came, and amalgamating that and adding to it the digital platform, our Honorable Prime Minister has made it National Digital Health Mission. He proclaims that with this, the citizen of India will be able to participate and become a partner, active partner in its own healthcare. So, with this backdrop of the situation on ground, I will take you now to the voyage in the distant frontiers of internet and communication technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and personalized medicine. Why this third revolution in medicine is called third revolution? Because it is going to be personalized and precise, it is going to be predictive, it is going to be preventive, and it is going to be participatory, both in learning as well as in delivery. And to give you an example, I started in 2013 my mission to educate each and every cardiac surgeon or a student in the country free, and educate them to train and skill enhancement, research, and basic and epidemiology. But learning through online medium has both opportunities and challenges. And calling today's World Heart Day that heart used to connect, digitalization of medical education and training is no more a alien word. In 2000, between 2011 and 2014, I created 6 groups, Facebook groups: Global Forum for Cardiovascular and Thoracic Surgeons, Global Forum for Cardiothoracic Techno Nurses Group, Cardiac Surgeons in India, Telemedicine Society of India, Minimally Invasive Cardiac Surgery Program Group, and Intensive Valve Repair Group. They have performed very well and also delivered, if not all, a lot of good to the nation as well as to the surgeons. Today, on the World Heart Day, we will see how the power of telehealth and social media to improve awareness in prevention and management of cardiovascular diseases can be done successfully. In 2013, I was invited by the BSNL in a national seminar to speak upon the rural empowerment through broadband. At that time, it was early time for the broadband, and 2G network was available. But when I asked in my outpatient how many patients had mobile phones, many of them raised their hands. I started therefore using mobile phone, mobile telephony to help the rural population in UP, through which I covered nearly 1/3 of the population. Today's the population stands at 26 crores, so 1/3 population coverage with just mobile telephony. However, over a period of time, I think we all realized that the acute shortage of trainees and educators in cardiovascular surgery is one of the things that is causing a lot of pain to everyone in the society. The emerging disparity in the needs of medical educators and health in India, realizing it, I gave my presentation to the association in the 59th Conference of Association of Cardiovascular and Thoracic Surgeons in Mumbai in 2013. My title was Future is not blood and blackboards, but bits and bytes. It was very well taken up. However, I could not convince the leadership of the association to take up the e-education and e-health in cardiovascular and thoracic surgery. I also was invited to give a memorial oration on which the role of ICT in teaching and training of cardiovascular surgeons and trainees in 2016, and one of the Times Group conclave in 2018, where I advocated to the cardiovascular and thoracic surgeons community in this country to use the best telemedicine programs in education as well as in training. Several lectures have fallen onto the deaf ears. Nothing much has happened. However, today on the World Heart Day, I am so happy that the World Health Federation has taken up the connected health and connected education to around the world as its message. So education, training, skill enhancement, and research is on one hand. However, on the ground, the patient facilitation, healthcare worker diagnosis, treatment facilities, and connecting people for a screening of the heart disease remains the goal of the common people. As I said earlier, this is going to cause a revolution in the medicine, third revolution. The first revolution was in the first part of the 19th century, 20th century. The second revolution came around 60s and 70s, and this is the third revolution. And the credit goes to, if you remember, Angelina Jolie in February 2013. She got her bilateral mastectomy, and a few years later, bilateral oophorectomies done. And she made this decision of hers based on the human genome project, that the gene she was carrying from her grandmother was likely to cause her death, as has happened in her own grandmother. So this is the power of human genome project, in which a person, in our terms as a patient, has taken its own decision. So there are four P's in the third revolution. The last one as patient participation, Jolie, as Angelina Jolie has demonstrated, and also the precise and personalized medicine. She also has put forth the predictive and the preventive power of the third revolution of medicine. The second part is the skill, teaching and transfer enhancement and patient participation. However, at the top of everything, the patient safety is the vital component of medical learning and extraordinary skills required in the medicine. And over and above, the authentic patient experience is even more vital for the student learner. I must say that the big data, artificial intelligence, and deep machine learning in remote cardiac monitoring and early intervention is going to be the drivers of the next decade. Coming to the second decade of the 21st century, the online and hybrid classrooms, like the one which we are seeing today, are going to be over in very short period of time. What is going to remain will be the 3D modeling, printing, and skill enhancement on the table, merging the CT, PET, MRI imaging, converging them onto the two-dimensional echocardiography or three-dimensional echocardiography, practicing on a printed model of complex heart diseases, and then going to perform in the operating theaters. As far as the learning part is concerned for the students, the virtual and mixed reality tools and holographic training is going to be a normal routine in all the classrooms in the next decade. However, India is a diverse country where, on one hand, we have the state of the art colleges and operating theaters, but at the same time, we also have a very rural population who can hardly afford to come to us. For them, the holographic teachers and awareness lectures in the remote locations will be a norm. In the post pandemic era, which has caused a watershed period for the entire world, the telemedicine success stories are long being written, especially in the field of teleradiology, where the X rays and X ray images done in the West are being interpreted by the Indian radiographers in India in the real time, because when they are doing their X rays imaging, the doctors here in the evening will have free time to give them the diagnosis. The other success story, which India is one of the major driver in the world, is in the field of teleophthalmology. Because India is capital of diabetes and therefore diabetic retinopathy, there are many institutions in this country and also many non-governmental organizations who are screening population for diabetic retinopathy for early treatment and possible cures. It is a very common that wearable technology we see almost everywhere today. Most of us who are attending this lecture may also be wearing a smart watch, smart band, and using a smartphone. However, in the future, we will see not only smart bands and smart teleconsultation and training theaters, but also a lot of teleconsulting ICUs and teleconsultation hospitals, which will be taking calls from the rural population as well as urban population. We will come to another step here when there will be no need for the person to call the doctor, but the doctor will call the person based on the wearable technology we'll discuss later. The future of teaching, skill transfer and enhancement, patient interaction and participation will be from coming from the health data informatics. We are all, if not everyone, aware of IBM Watson, which has been in practice for the last 7 years. It is one of the largest project of artificial learning, which will become the super doctor in the world of future. However, I must tell you that the smartphones and the smart wearable things that we are wearing today, which are innumerable, will create a big data. And these are the sources from where the data will come. However, the computing power of today may not be sufficient for tomorrow's data, which is known as big data. And therefore, many informatics companies and uh, scientists are busy in writing algorithms for artificial intelligence devices. There is a possibility that in the next 5 years or so, we will have wearable plasmonic gold labeled clothings and with lots of sensors in them, which will create a plethora of data for ourselves as well as for the researchers. And this data will communicate directly with the super doctor or our own doctor by choice, communicating how we are doing. And if there is anything that the artificial intelligent module will pick up, that our heart rate is going haywire or our blood pressure is going increasing during certain activities or so, then the doctor will be informed automatically, and you will receive a call from a doctor that, look, you are not doing well, stop doing the exercise or whatever activity that you are doing at this time, come and attend or take this prescription. There is also a possibility that the smart next generation healthcare network will give you a prescription which will be validated by a practicing doctor who will say, okay, take this medicine and you will be better. So before the disease will occur to you, the sensors will know, the doctors will know by the use of artificial intelligence. I see a very, very distinct possibility that in the next 30 years or so, all of us in the world will be wearing the chips on our arms. We'll be wearing, as I told you, the wearable uh, clothings, and we will have sensors attached to our bodies who will be 24 hours communicating with the cloud based big data, which will be analyzed by the artificial intelligence, which will be communicating with the supercomputers, or at that time, probably quantum computers with artificial intelligence. And that will be the future where we will be able to say that the artificial intelligence is going to be the stethoscope of the 21st century. So, to summarize, the artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, machine learning companies are continuously taking your data, whatever activity you may be doing, even this activity that we are doing on the computer. I am sure that Google and Apple and YouTube and Facebook must be recording the activity, not personally, but by the cloud, and the deep data is created. Machine learning tools and artificial intelligence will continue to analyze this, and this data will be used for future. However, every coin has a flip side, and sooner or later, artificial intelligence is going to rule us. The principal challenge would be to maintain a balance of both digital and physical worlds. I must remind you that when I was a student, I read a book written by Eric Arthur Blair, whose pen name was George Orwell, and he wrote a book 1984, and he showed very that how the privacy, if the privacy is not maintained, and if the personal freedom is not maintained, what can happen to the world? Thank you very much for.
Thank you so much, sir. Indeed, a very well presented talk. I can see that you made some really good points there and how much effort you've put in creating that presentation for your talk. So we are seeing a very good response from the audience, and we have some questions for you. If you can, we can go ahead with that.
Sure, sure.
So the first question is from Dr. Amitava Kundu, who's a consulting physician. He says, how can physicians use the digital platform in terms of self-upgrading?
Self upgrading is a very vast term because upgradation can be in the field of knowledge, upgradation may be in the field of skill transfer, upgradation can be in the field of understanding about the subject that you wish to know. So, upgradation is a huge term. However, I will briefly touch upon everything. When I was in the UK in 1995, the digital internet was just starting. And at that time, I became interested in the internet. Well, as I began my journey connecting with people around the world using a very, very slow internet and very expensive internet at that time, I became enthusiast. Very soon, I became an enthusiast, and I have kept my enthusiasm even today. There is hardly a device that I don't own from the first generation to till date generation in Apple or Microsoft or even wearable technologies. So one has to have, first of all, the passion. The passion is the most important thing to upgrade oneself. The second is to use it. Once you are passionate about a thing, you start using the platform. Initially, you might find it difficult, but slowly you will find people to help you. Like today, also, when I was unable to share my screen, Darshika told me how to do it. And then I suddenly saw that Google is pointing towards my preferences, that I have not allowed the screen to be shared. So because the Apple has got lots of security levels, uh, uh, so we sorted the problem. So this is how you get help from others also. Now the third thing is that why, because you are a doctor, you should engage your patients, but whatever thing that you might have. For example, in 2009 I only had a mobile device and I used to use it for the patient. uh, Say sometimes the patient wants to come to your clinic, uh, then I will say, okay, you come on that particular day. This is a telephony, but this is telehealth, telemobile health, we call it. So everything that we use in technology to deliver or to create facilitation for somebody, it's telemedicine, it's telehealth. And if you are using that device to educate anybody, that is tele-education. This is the first phase. Slowly and slowly, you will come to the next phase. For example, I created many courses and lectures for the cardiac surgeons. And I'm glad to tell you this, that many of the junior surgeons using those courses and videos been able to perform those operations which they had not even seen before, except on the platform. So just begin your journey and you will see that you are reaching your destination one day. Mrs. Kundu, Amitav Kundu, sorry, Mr. Kundu, Dr. Kundu.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure that answers his question. Another question for you is, what are the pros and cons of digitalization, especially in terms of cardiovascular training?
Yes. Um, Let us take the question in two parts. The pros of digital technology is that you, with very little effort, that you can reach millions of people just by a click. Suppose if this lecture is being seen and heard by, say, 5,000 people at this time, the effort to reach 5,000 doctors in one go is impossible for anybody in physical sense. But digital technology can do that for you by a click of a button. So
Correct.
this is the power of internet. Second, the analytical power of digital technology. Won't believe that every minute the amount of data that is being generated around the world is more than the mass of this whole planet. If you put that in the mass, it will become more than the mass of Earth. That is the amount of data that is being generated and is collected also at the same time, and it is being analyzed also now. And that is why the next 5 years, we will not have the computing power to actually analyze this data. And you must have seen some news that the quantum computing is on the way. So even the supercomputers will be failing to analyze these data, and we will have the next generation of quantum computing, the amount of data that is being generated. So that is the pro. Now, what is the con side of it is that you may have seen in your Google inbox that in the last 3 years you have visited so many places, so many um, villages, so many cities, so many countries. It automatically gives you that. You never asked for it, but they know it. Actually, they is not a person there. They is the computing power. So everything that we do, any click that we do on our mobile phone or on our laptop, it generates the data. So if tomorrow, if tomorrow, that is what I said on the flip side, if tomorrow the people who are getting this data from you, which is free, of course, from your side, because you say, if you read uh, sometimes the privacy note comes that you have to share everything. You have to say, yes, agree to everything in privacy report. So when you say yes, then only you are able to open that software. And this yes contains a lot of things. Every click that we do on our mobile phone or on our laptop generates the data and they know it. And not only know it, they can modulate your behavior. Tomorrow, if they want you to be as ferocious as a lion, by continuously putting the data in your mind, on your screen, on your mobile, they'll make you ferocious. So that is the extreme side of the coin. But the middle side of the coin is that we lose the privacy. Privacy is going to be lost. That is the con side of it. And rest of it is all pro. So it depends on how we use the technology. For example, if you remember in 50s, early 40s, the Einstein gave us the power of atomic bomb. We are using the power of atomic energy, but we are also we have seen the world has seen the worst side of the atomic power also in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and recently in Fukushima, where a reactor got burst out. So every technology has the flip side. Any more questions?
So, but could you talk about how specifically it affects the cardiovascular training aspect of it? The second part of the question.
Cardiovascular. Huh, huh. Um, it is very surprising that I used to think that cardiovascular surgeons are dropping in numbers only in India, but around the world it's happening. And not only in cardiovascular surgery, medical specialties as a whole uh, is on decline around the world. And I see no danger in this situation. The reason is uh, pre-pandemic era, I was very disturbed about this fact because I wanted to outreach students and young surgeons. But now in the post-pandemic world, when the world has become suddenly very aware of the technology and the power of technology, and they can very easily are using this technology, I can see that the decline in the number of doctors will not affect the humanity as such. There is also a possibility that we might be able to eradicate the cardiovascular diseases altogether in the next 100 years. How? I will explain to you. The watch that I'm wearing is sensing my blood pressure, is sensing my heart rate, it's sensing my oxygen saturation continuously 24 hours a day. There will be a time when this watch is connected to my mobile phone also. There is an app which continuously gives me the update how it is. So this is going to be the next norm around the world. Most of us are wearing smartwatches. Then what is going to happen is that before we know that we are having a problem in our cardiovascular system, the wearable technology that we are going to wear these, the gas that we are emitting, our cells are emitting, the sweat that we are emitting from our body will be sensed by those nanosensors in our wearables. And these biochemical changes that are occurring in our body will warn our doctors before we learn. And that doctor is not going to be a human doctor. That doctor is going to be a computing doctor, like Dr. IBM Watson. And that Watson will alert our human doctor. That's look, Dr. Nirmal Gupta is having hypertension and his glycemic control is also haywire, especially at night. So, do we have given him the prescription just validate that. Or if you want, suppose if I am not going to perform as well as the IBM Dr. Watson wants me to be, then a human doctor will come into play. So in the future, what I see in the next 10 years, the number of the scarcity of the doctors, especially in the field of cardiovascular surgery, is not going to be an issue, because the more and more procedures will be invasive procedures performed by the cardiologists. Then the preventive aspect will become very powerful, because of early diagnosis before the body, before even we come to know that our heart rhythm is going haywire. The machine will tell us that, look, during the time when you go for your walk, your heart rate is going haywire, so do something about it. And therefore, this will be the first step for eliminating the disease altogether. I see, if I am not wrong, that in the next 100 years, no one on this planet will die of any disease whatsoever, because we'll be able to prevent the disease as such. The humanity will be able to prevent all the diseases as such, because before they will happen, we will know from the genetic markings, we will know that our child is going to be having this problem. Then we will be able to deal with that genetic problem before it affects the child. uh, about autism. We can now detect autism in the first 3 months of child because of the sensors. The same thing is going to be translated in all the specialties in the medical curriculum, be it cardiovascular, be it respiratory, be it neurological. And these are the main drivers. And the cancers, as far as the cancers are concerned, today we know that we know the Human Genome Project, we know what genes are affecting, causing the cancers. We also know the biochemical markers which cause the cancers. You know? So we will be able to modulate that before they affect the body. So the power of computing will help initially for treatment, but in the last part of it is going to be preventive. Ultimately, it will be preventive. And the number of people on the planet will consistently start to decline around 2060. The population increase has reached its peak. The sustainability on the planet for the humanity is reached its peak now. And I see that by 2050, there will be a sustained decline in the population by education, by infertility that we have nurtured in our environment, by causing every kind of pollution what we can think of. So the infertility will affect. Today itself, nearly 25% of men and women mm, in India are infertile or partly fertile. So all these things will cause the number of people to decline. The diseases will be prevented by early diagnosis, and treatments will evolve to preventable treatments rather than treatable treatments. For example, the surgeries will be probably far and few. The cardiac surgeon will not be performing CABGs, I think, in the next 50 years, because we will be able to prevent coronary blocks altogether. So that is the future. The future is bright, provided we use the technology properly.
Well said, sir. Now, you did talk about the access. So, I want you now to talk about what measures should be taken to ensure equity for access to the content for digital training. So, should digitalization of training be made mandatory, and how can we ensure that it has access, everybody has access to it?
If you had asked this question 2 years ago, I would have said mandatory will be a very difficult thing in India, because we can't mandate even the traffic rules on the roads. You go and see in Banaras or in Lucknow, you will know that the only rule is to go forward, whichever way you want to. So nothing like mandatory will ever help, because uh, human nature is different. We may say the rules and regulations, but the human nature is absolutely different. However, um, the technology has become so uh, has invaded every house, has invaded every person's pocket today because of thanks to pandemic in one way. Of course, the pandemic was not good for anybody, but it has invaded the technology in everyone's pocket. And therefore, I think that the future of training, as I showed you, that one good professor, teacher in one university will be taking classes. I conceived this idea 10 years ago. Some of the colleagues who may be listening to me, I invited, I said, let us out of 1,200 cardiac surgeons, let us collect 100 cardiac surgeons amongst ourselves, prepare one lecture, one every 6 monthly, and we will have a repository for at next 5 years for lecturing the students. Prepare one operating video for every operation that you can do best, and prepare a repository, and we can teach every cardiac surgeon, every cardiac student in the country, and not only the country but around the world, um, without the boy going to any particular library or class. It will help a lot. And I'm happy to say that when I was teaching actively on my website, I used to get more clicks from the US, Australia, New Zealand, Middle East, and even Japan and China. Those who do not understand English much, but they used to watch and give me the compliments and send me the notes. Okay, look, we have seen your operation and we have done this operation ourselves successfully like this. So I think that technology will invade itself. Now there is no stopping for technology. So you don't have to mandate that. And this will not only invade in medicine, it will invade in everyone's life, businesses, travel, sightseeing. Even you may not have time to go to Kulu Manali, but you can be there in holographic form in the next 20 years, visiting Kulu and Manali, sitting in your home in Pune. So that is the possibility. The technology is vast, and technology is growing so rapidly that I can't, as I told you, that the amount of data that we are generating every day is equal to the mass of the planet itself. So, and that is why we have to have, 1 TB SSDs in our small laptops. So that is the reason that the compaction of data is being done.
True, sir. This brings me to the last part of my question and answer segment. So I want you to talk about now the cost effectiveness. So one of the doctors want to know, does digitalization require any additional platforms and whether it is cost effective?
It is indeed very cost effective. Suppose I am teaching about a disease today. Um, I'm sure that the amount of uh, time, money, and space that it will require will be huge. But we have done it maybe around 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, whatever. So the technology is becoming very, very cheap. The data is getting very, very cheap. I see a future where data will no longer be required to be paid. The data will be free around the world, absolutely free. Because without data, it is like without oxygen, we cannot survive. Without internet, the world will collapse itself. So the data will have to become absolutely free for everybody on each and every inch of this planet. And the technology will therefore be only hardware. And believe me, this mobile phone that you are having and I am having has more computing power that even NASA had at the time of its first moon mission. So the computing power is becoming so advanced and cheap that it is only going to go downhill. That is the beauty of this technology. The reason the reason is because without this technology, the world will collapse on itself. World will not survive. And for survival, you can't make it expensive. So that is the reason that technology is going to become cheaper and cheaper. And I am sure that the person who has asked this question uh, will not have to worry about the cost. The cost is going to go down. For example, I mean, imagine the when I first bought my computer, it was having 2 MB RAM, and it had only 25 uh, megabyte, 25 megabyte disk, and that had cost me in Birmingham £2,500. Imagine. And today, I think the 1,000 times more computing power I have in my iPad, and it is only how much? I think 1.8, 1.3 lakhs. Hmm. So the computing power is increasing. The technology is becoming cheaper, more affordable, and more distributed. See, it is not the computing power is not the say for the haves only. It is with the have-nots also. The unfortunate part, I will tell you, is that many of these people who have the mobile phones are not being taught how to use that computing power for their best. They are watching music videos, they are watching lots of nonsense on the Facebook and WhatsApp groups. So they are not using that technology, and there comes the role of Darshika and Nirmal Gupta and others, that we have to, you know, train the people to use this technology to the best. And I think today, after giving this lecture, I hope that many of the doubts of the listeners would be settled, that they should not worry about the technology. They should just go ahead, jump on it, and start using it to the best of their uh, knowledge. And if they need any help, I am always available. My email address is with Darshika. They can share. And I think she has made uh, without asking me, a member of the doc plexus also. So I think you can ask questions also. I can attend to them in my free time. So don't worry about the technology part and cost wise. Just use it.
Thank you so much, Zaf, for answering these questions. These were all the questions, and we're very grateful for your time and valuable insights for this insightful session. Would you like to give any message to our audience watching us live on the occasion of World Heart Day?
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. Mm, Heart is the only organ in the body which is supposed to be the seat of love, power, and passion. And we have to make it stronger and healthier, and keep it healthier and ticking all the time. Unfortunately, none of the things that we are doing today is to help it. The reason being, the heart does not beat on its own. The beat comes from somewhere, and it comes from our minds. If our mind is not at peace, the heart can never be at peace. And for giving the solace to the mind, the peace to the mind, we have to have a peaceful mind. And the peaceful mind can only come when you go not outside, but inside. And to go inside your mind and to watch every thought that is coming to you is known as meditation. And the power of meditation is more than the power of the entire universe, let me tell you. I am also the vice chairman of the American Academy of Meditation and Yoga. So I can tell you with my personal experience of more than 18 years of doing meditation that there is nothing outside this mind. Everything that is happening, even the words that are coming from my mouth, are coming from my mind. And to keep that mind at peace is the biggest journey that anybody anywhere in the world can take. And that will keep your heart at peace and healthy. So take up yoga as a exercise and meditation as a practice. And just give half an hour every day to this, and I am sure most of us will keep our hearts healthier for a long time to come.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, we would like to close today's session. Thank you again to the audience. Hope you enjoyed today's session and do share your feedback and questions if any more. Thank you again, Dr. Gupta, for agreeing to share your
Thank,
expertise with DocPlexus.
thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Stay tuned for our next session on the occasion of World Heart Day at 6 p.m. today with Dr. Subrata Mandal. Take care and have a great evening ahead. Thank you. Thank you so much.